Well, hey there. My name is Crafty Kathy. I am the owner and creator of Kids Vintage Farmhouse here in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. This week, I have been working on some beautiful upcycled home decor that I plan to take to that strawberry festival next month. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into this video, shall we? On the first DIY, I have this beautiful serving platter that I've had for a little bit in my booth. It hasn't sold. I bought it at a thrift store for only like $4 for a few years ago. And since it's this beautiful silver, I was going to try to sell it that way first. Well, it didn't sell. So I'm going to try to upcycle it, give it a little makeover, and see if that helps. I am taking the color called Gypsy Girl by DIY Paint, which is my favorite paint in all the world. It's clay-based, and I love the way it dries because it dries a very different color than what you're putting on here. So what I did was just give it 2 coats all over really well. I wanted to video it while I was drying it so you could actually see the way that it looks when it's wet versus when it's dry. But I had a lot of sun coming in my window there too. I closed that in just a moment. Makes it a little bit harder to see though, but you can see on the bottom it's darker, and on the top it's that beautiful dry color. A company called Essential Stencils sent me some of these beautiful transfers, and they got birds on them, which you know I absolutely love my bird decor. So I picked out one where the little bird is inside the bird cage, and I thought that it would be so pretty to put this right in smack dab in the middle of this. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, if you've never used a transfer before, they're really easy to use. You just peel that white backing off the back, you lay it down wherever you want it to go, and then they send you a little tool, and that tool will help you get that transfer off on your item. All you do is rub back and forth, and I have a tendency to like to kind of pull up the side of my stencil as I'm rubbing it. And it seems to help it to stick a lot faster, if you ask me. Now, this stencil took me quite a while to get on there, simply because, you know, on the bird cage, it had all the different little front pieces. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I know that IOD cost a little bit more, but for the quality that you get and the craftsmanship that you get from IOD, I would pay that money 1,000 times over. And I did like these stencils, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it was a bad stencil, but I'm just saying, from somebody that uses IOD pretty much all the time, I could really tell a difference. And not in the way it looked, in the way that it came off, onto the project. That's where I really noticed the difference there. So once you have went over your whole transfer, got the whole thing to stick, you're going to burnish it. And burnishing just simply means where you lay that little piece, that little film, right back down over it, and you just kind of rub it around. I like to rub it in a circular motion, and burnishing is almost like it's just getting a really good contact with that project. I also added 2 little butterflies from this transfer on the sides of my bird cage. I felt like it just wasn't complete, and I wanted to add something that had like some wording to it. And I always keep all my little scraps, and I had this little scrap from an IOD piece, and I just put that right underneath the bird cage. And that's where I was talking about I could really tell the difference. It like took seconds to get that little one under the bird cage to adhere. Now, since I used DIY paint, you do have to seal your paint, and it's smartest to go ahead and put your transfer down before you seal it, I think, because You're going to want to seal in that transfer. And also, if you're using waxes, think about it. I've done this before and used wax and then tried to put down a transfer, and it didn't want to stick very well. But this is just a clear wax that I have. It's not DIY. It is actually Dixie Belle clear wax, and it's not my preference. I just had this one, and I want to get it used up, so I am using it. And if you guys want any of the DIY paints or any of the IOD stuff, a lot of the craft supplies that I use in all of my videos, you get that from Lori over at Milton's Daughter. It's www.miltonsdaughter.com, and she is amazing. I'll leave that in the comments and also in the description. So if y'all want any supplies, that's who you go to. She's my girl. Here I'm just using a soft cloth and wiping off the excess of that wax. And I'm going to try a new product that Miss Lori sent me. This is the golden wax. It's called the Golden Rule. And it is actually a gold wax, just like the white wax and the black wax that I use, except for it's gold. Now, I wanted it in all those little divots that's around this tray, so I just used my finger. There's no better way to get into those little divots than to use your finger, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. And so I put it all around the outside. And then I realized that inside this tray, it had like all these little divots and a design underneath that paint. And I wanted some of that to kind of pop. So just in kind of here and there, I used a little bit of that wax on my finger and kind of rubbed it in. And it did make those designs kind of pop. But you can't really see it on camera, which is really sad because it turned out so pretty. And that's all that I did on this first one, and I hope you guys like it. I think it turned out so beautiful.
Whenever you're down, out in the cold, faithless and dark, your story's untold. Come take my hand and walk there with me. I know a place where we can be free. There is a light shining for you, guiding your way, helping you through. And shadows and gloom are all that you see.
The next DIY is super easy, and this is one that I do very often because I like for my decor to go together, especially if I'm going to try to sell it. So what I did was I found these two beautiful little birds that's in the rest of these transfers that I got from Essential Stencils. And these two little birds are together on a limb. And y'all know, if you've hung around my channel for any length of time, that I love to do different stuff on my candles. I love to decopauge on them, and I love to put transfers on them because it just looks so good together when you put it in a vignette. So what I did was I just laid that transfer down on this largest candle. And these are the battery operated candles. That's all I ever use, because if you think about it, if you used a real candle and you put a transfer on there, that's not a very good combination. So it's best to use these little battery operated ones. And people absolutely love these candles. They buy these from me like crazy, y'all. So all I did was rub my little transfers on there. And I noticed also that when I was putting the transfers on the candles, that it was kind of hard to get it to stick on the candle too. I mean, I got it to work, but it just worked my arm to death. I've just had to have some epidurals actually this morning put in my right shoulder because I hurt it back in December, and I just kept putting it off to get something done. I finally got an epidural put in there, so hopefully I'll be getting some relief. But man, this worked my arm to death trying to get this transfer off on this little candle. But I made it work. I added a couple little butterflies on there. And on the second one, I added like the little cherry blossoms that were on there. And I put the little bird on a branch. And I hate to even call these DIYs because they're so easy. But I wanted to show y'all these in the vignette because they are so cute. Also, I forgot to mention that I will probably sell that tray for at least $15 to $17. And I'm going to include these little candles beside it so that people can see that it is a vignette. And more than likely on the candles, I will ask $15 for those also. I hope you like these.
It's always been you, Jesus. It's always been you, Emmanuel. Who gave me this courage? What torch lights my feet? It's always been you, Jesus. It's always been you.
DIY number 3 is another pretty easy one, but it turned out stunning. I absolutely love this one. I got this Minions can from the thrift store. It was just $1.99, and you can see it's brand new. It's never been used. And I got this back before the prices went totally out of the roof, you know, at the thrift stores. And I've had it for a couple of years, and I thought, you know what? It's time to pull the sticker off of this sucker and do something with it. I have a ton of different watering cans in my stash because this time of year, you can really sell the crud out of these things, especially if you put like a beautiful flower bouquet or something in them, and they're just so pretty. And who doesn't love a beautiful little watering can in their display? I'm going to use this Dixie Belle Slick Stick. Now, Slick Stick is like a primer, and it's for anything that paint doesn't like to stick on. It's one Dixie Belle product that I absolutely love and stand on and have to have. Now, I would be able to paint this little can with my DIY paint, no problem. But say if you bumped up against it or something, you might get a little scuff on it, and we don't want that. So I put one coat of the Slick Stick all over this little watering can. It was a little tough to get on some of the inner portions of this can, so I just left it alone. I didn't put the Slick Stick on it, but I am going to cover it with my paint. And the paint that I'm going to use is DIY color called Beadboard. It's probably my favorite off-white color. I think it is gorgeous. Now, I ended up giving it 2 coats of this color beadboard all over, inside, outside, upside, downside, any way you can imagine, because I did not want that paint to come off there. And I wanted to do white because we're going to do one of my most favorite things on this can. We're going to decopauge a napkin on this can. And y'all know that I love to decopauge, and this napkin that I have is absolutely to die for. Now, when you're decoupaging, in my opinion, it's always best to have a white background if you can, because it just kind of makes that image sink into it, and it brightens that image up also. If you just stick it on any color, it kind of like mutes that image, but when you put white behind it, it brightens it up. It really seems to make it pop. Now look at these beautiful napkins I found. Guys, I got these off of Amazon, and they were a good price. They are gorgeous. They are so pretty. I think there was 20 of them in a pack for maybe $6 or $7, and that's a really good price for these napkins. I can get so much use out of these because there's like 6 scenes on each napkin. So what I do is I wet the end of a little fine paintbrush, like a skinny paintbrush, and I go around the image where I want to tear it off at. It always looks best when you're decoupaging to tear your image off like this, because it seems to make it blend in better. If you cut it with the scissors and have like a perfect squared image or whatever, it just never looks right. And I like to put that liquid patina on my fingers, and that's how I separate my napkins. You know, there's always like 2 plies on a napkin and sometimes 3 plies. And I love to use the DIY liquid patina whenever I'm doing any kind of decoupage. If you'll see, I just put a little bit of the liquid patina down. I like to do it in sections, and I just lay it down. I always kind of start in the middle, if you will, of what I'm laying down. Like here, I kind of started in the middle on that side, and then I just kind of worked my way all the way around. I use my brush to kind of push that napkin down. You don't want to touch it too much with your fingers because napkins are so thin. Of course, you're going to rip it, and you don't want to do that. And the best advice I can give you about decoupaging is to use saran wrap to get your wrinkles out and just take your time. Just go slow, don't rush, and you can do this, I promise you. A few years ago, I was terrible at decoupaging, and now it has become one of my favorite things. You see, I just tear off a very small piece of saran wrap or like cling wrap, and I just use that because that way you're not going to pull that napkin up, and you can use the heat from your fingers on top of that saran wrap to almost create like a little mini iron, and you are just ironing out those wrinkles with your hands. And so I always stand by using that saran wrap. If I could help y'all with anything, it would be your decoupage. To take your time and to use that saran wrap, and you can do it. And always make sure that you take off those layers, because sometimes them dadgum layers are tricky. You think there's only 2 plies there, and then there ends up being 3, and then the image looks crazy. You know what I'm saying? So here I go. I know I talk a lot, but hey, I like to. And so I'm just going all the way around, and I'm using that saran wrap, and I'm pushing out those wrinkles, and this baby turned out gorgeous. I wonder sometimes if it's normal to get that excited over decoupage. In my world it is. I don't know if in the real world it is, but hey, I'm excited. It turned out so pretty. And I figure when I go to sell this that I'm going to put a beautiful bouquet of flowers in there. So from this image, you want it to be full. And so I'm going to go up the spout. Now, this napkin is so beautiful because it not only has the birds on it, but it had like script behind the birds. So, I mean, that's perfect. You don't even have to use anything else. You've got everything you need on that napkin. It's so pretty, and I just pulled like a small piece of that script off and kind of started going up the spout. And you do the exact same thing all the time. You use that saran wrap if you need to, and I didn't even need to use it on the spout. It just came out so perfect. And I wanted the other bird's head to be at the top up there. So I just applied a little bit of my liquid patina, and I stuck that little birdie's head right up there. So both of my little birds are on this little flower pot. I just think it's gorgeous. I just took my time, and I kind of spun him around there and let the rest of his little body float all the way around that spout. And he turned out so sweet. Look how cute this is. Uh-oh, now we're going to have some DIY fun. I've got my Tim Holtz Distress, that little spray distressing stuff that I've been using. And I've got a little dauber or dabber, however you call it. And I just squirted a little bit of that spray stain down on my mat. And I wanted to, you know, just kind of stain up this little handle a little bit. So I just went around and just lightly stained it. And I love this color. It's called Vintage Photo. And I just kind of went all the way around all the edges and stained them up a little bit. Anywhere where I wanted to give it a little bit of age. And if you get a little too trigger happy and go wild with your stain, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry. You just take that dry brush with that white paint that you just used and just lightly feather it over it, and it comes out beautiful every time. And I'll probably ask 15 for this watering can. 15 must be the lucky number of the day.
You are faithful, faithful through all things. You are faithful, faithful through all things. You are with us, we are not alone.
This last one is a gorgeous garden statue. Well, he's gorgeous when I get finished with him. But I found this a few years ago at a thrift store for $4. And you see the plant that he's holding there. It's kind of puny looking and it just looks pitiful. And it's old and dirty. And it's a little country boy with a little hat on. And he's got his little pants rolled up. So cute with his little plants. So I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to clean him up. And I gave him 2 coats of black spray paint and then a white coat when that dried because I wanted some of that black to come through. Now we've got him back inside and I'm going to cover him with the polyacrylic. And the reason why I'm doing this is because more than likely this little guy's going to be outside in somebody's garden. Maybe my garden because I haven't decided if I'm going to keep him yet or not. But anyways, I'm going to put this polyacrylic over him so that he can withstand the outside elements. And all you do is just take a little bit on an old brush, and that's all I'm doing here, and literally just brush it over him and let it dry. And it creates almost like a rubbery coat. Not really rubbery, I don't think that's the word to use, but it creates like a coat on the outside that will help him withstand the elements. I want to show him to you a little up close. I don't know if it's going to show on camera or not. It doesn't really well. But the reason why I put the black down first and then put white on him is because he's got all these little wrinkles in his hat, if you can see. And I wanted some of those to kind of stick out. You see here on his back where I'm pointing to, you can see it a little bit better. But that black comes through and it just makes it kind of look old and worn and a little more vintage. And that's what I was going for there. I have this Waverly antique wax that only had about maybe a fourth of the product left in there, and I filled it up with water because I wanted a really watered down antiquing wax. And you'll see the color that it comes out. It's kind of runny because I've got so much water, so I've got my little baby wipes ready here. And what I'm going to do is just wipe it all over him and then wipe off that excess. And if you notice, it's still very brown, even though I really, really watered it down. But I am going to use this baby wipe and kind of wipe it off so that that brown goes down in all those little divots and he just kind of looks more vintagey and old. Now, in some areas on this little guy, like on his face and stuff, I didn't want it to be, really brown or whatnot. I did just use very lightly, so it wouldn't be so brown. But you see here on his little hat, you can see all those little divots really stick out whenever I started putting that brown wax on it. And I really kind of went heavy where his hair is because he's just plain white all over, and I wanted him to have some detail, but not a crazy amount of detail. So I really put a lot where his hair is, and I just wiped off the excess, and that way it really sticks out. And then he's got a little stump behind him, and I painted that brown, and the little rock that he's standing on, I kind of painted that brown a little bit more than where I went with everything else, just because I wanted some areas to be more prominent than other areas. I didn't want to use the piece of styrofoam that it came with because it was just kind of old and dingy. So what I did, and it's a little off camera, I'm sorry for that, but I just measured that exact same size of styrofoam, and I glued it down in that little area where he's holding his little country basket, and that way we can put his flowers in there, and it's going to be really pretty. Now, I did use a lot of the little flowers that he came with because they were vines, and that's exactly what the look that I wanted. I wanted them to kind of come over the side and be really pretty. I get my moss from the Hobby Lobby because the ones that I get from Dollar Tree always has this funky smell. And so I got this one from the Hobby Lobby, and I'm just adding pieces of this moss all over this styrofoam before I stick my flowers in, because it makes it so much easier to put your moss on first and then add your flowers. And do you know, it's took me years to learn that, and a subscriber was like, why are you fighting with your flowers to put the moss on? Just put the moss on first. And guys, it made my world so much easier. But here I'm just going all the way around and putting that moss on that little piece of styrofoam. Now that we got that done, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I do in all of my floral arrangements. Whatever I put on the right side, I'm going to put the exact same thing in the exact same spot on the left side. You see, I put this vine on the right side there, and I'm going to put the exact same size vine on the left side in the same spot. And that's how I always make my florals look good. Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. And here on the right side, I'm putting a piece up toward the front, and then I go in on the left side up toward the front. And that's how it always comes out looking even and looking right. And the vines that was in this little piece came with these little, I'm not sure what you call them, but it's those little silver pieces at the very end of the vine that helps it stick in. I know they've got a name, I just don't know what they're called. And that's amazing. I wish I had a bunch of those, so I probably need to go off Amazon and go get some, because they made this vine so easy to put together. But all I'm doing is adding the exact same thing that I do on one side on the other side and making it cohesive. I started off by adding the vine, and then I wanted to put just a little bit of color in here. And so the flowers that I'm using are some that I got off of a bouquet from Walmart. I'm not really sure what they're called, but they're these small pink colors. And I'm off camera a little bit, but all I'm doing is taking those extra little silver sticker pieces, I guess you could call them, the little pokey things that I'm sticking down into the foam there. And if you guys know the name of those, please tell me, because I feel like I'm looking like an idiot right now not knowing the name. But all I'm doing is putting that around the bottom of these little pink flowers that I got from Walmart, and I'm doing the exact same principle. What I put on the left side, I'm putting on the right side, and I put the exact same things in the front, like an even number, if that makes sense. And I'm just putting it all together to make it look right. And I just kind of back up every little bit. And if it looks right, then we're finished. But until I get to where I'm happy, I just keep going and adding the little florals. And really, that's all I did with this piece. And I kind of added too much, so I had to take a few out and kind of push them down. But I hope you like this. I think it turned out really cute. And I will ask about 22 for this little garden statue with the florals.
I was at the wrong place at the right time, 'cause suddenly there you were with those bright blue eyes. We were conversing under the night sky, when you took my hand, said let's leave now. Don't wanna be shy, I will let my guard down. Don't wanna be shy, I will let my guard down. I wanna laugh out loud, talk a little deeper, kiss a little harder. I wanna laugh out loud, talk a little deeper.
If you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate every single one of y'all so very much. You have no idea. And I'm so thankful that you came and spent a little bit of time with me and watched me craft today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it gives you some type of inspiration, and I hope that you can hear me over the dogs fighting like crazy in the background. I love y'all, and I will see you soon. You have a blessed day. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump on here for a minute because I've had a lot of people asking about my hair. A company called Irresistible Me reached out to me and asked me did I want to try their real hair tape-in extensions. They actually have the clip-in, tape-in, they even have wigs and stuff like that. And I chose the tape-in extensions because I've actually used them before and I really like them. They're real hair. So, I mean, it feels like it's your real hair. And I took mine to my hairstylist and she put them in. And you literally take a small piece of hair and it's like a sandwich of tape. One piece goes on top and one piece goes on the bottom, and it's a long piece of hair. And so they sandwich them in there, you know, the tape. And about every 6 weeks, you have to go and have them moved up because your natural hair is growing, you know, and so that tape is moving down. So what they do is take that piece of tape off and put new tape on and put them back up here towards your scalp. And you wear them as long as you want. I have a pair, my other pair that I had, I wore those for like a whole year straight one time. I probably want these just because I'm liking having the shorter hair now that I'm, I'm 46, it was about 10 years ago and I loved having the long hair and I loved everything about it. But now, I don't want to have to fool with it, to be quite honest with you. Right now, mine is a little damp. And with my hair like this, I'm able to braid it and use my, I have some braids that are from Cherokee, North Carolina. They were actually made for me. They're Cherokee braids and they are leather. And I braid my hair and put it in there. And with the longer hair, you can really see my Cherokee roots. But my grandfather was Cherokee Indian. And I like having the long hair. You can you can get it curly or straight, which I got mine straight because when I want to wear it curly, I'll fix it. You style it just like you do your regular hair because it's real hair, so you can curl it, you can blow dry it, you can do whatever you need to do, and you wash it like normal. So anyways, y'all that wanted to know, that's the juice about my hair, and I love these beautiful long locks that I've got going on. But I will leave all the links down below to that company called Irresistible Me so you can go get you some if you so desire. I love y'all, and I hope that you have a good weekend. Bye.